Today we're going to talk about part 3, laying in your color. So we have all of our colors that we've pre-mixed, and then I've also brought my burnt umber, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson permanent, cadmium yellow light, and titanium white. And if you want to see us go over pre-mixing all of our colors, that's step 2, and you can do that in the title card here or in the link down in the description. So we've got our scene laid out before us, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with this sky color, and I'm going to start laying in the sky. And you can see that gets pretty close to the tone we've already laid in, with staining the canvas, which was nice. So that blue kind of takes care of some things for us. And but we're going to modulate this, keeping it fairly thin, using a number 6 master stroke bristle flat brush that is from Blick. And since we've kind of sketched out the scene, we've lost some of the clouds that we had, and that's okay. That's why we took some photos, and we can decide to put those in or leave them out. I'm just going to kind of lightly brush in this color. Now, some of this paint from the drawing is still a little bit wet, so I picked some of that up. I'll just go over that again. So you're not going to notice a big change here, but I do want to cover this with paint. We can paint into it and modulate it a little bit. And I like this that I'm not having to think about my colors right now. We've already kind of taken care of that step. And so now we can just focus on laying down the paint where we see it. And because we've pre-mixed it too, we can come back and put in some sky holes later towards the end. So we talked about kind of gradating the colors towards something slightly warmer. I'm going to brush that in here. So get further down. So very similar tonal value, but slightly warmer in color. Just a little bit more. I'm going to use this color here that we mixed up for some clouds and just kind of brush some of that in. Just the suggestion of some clouds, even though they're gone now. I like putting them in because it adds some depth. Yeah, we'll see. We'll leave it at that for now. Okay. Not a whole lot has changed, but that's okay. Let's see. There's a lot of approaches we could take now, which is to either do what's in the farthest, like the sky, and then come forward. We could also do our darks, and I think that's what I want to do now. Rinse out my brush, and you could use, either a solvent or something like that, but I'm actually using a silicoil jar filled with walnut oil. So this painting is going to be solvent free, but you can paint with solvent if you'd like, or use water mixable oils. I think leave a comment down below if you'd like to see me do some more plein air with water mixable oils. I have one video on my channel where I tried them out, and it was really interesting. And the thing that I like about water mixable oils is that you can you know, do those thin washes, but you don't have to mess around with solvents, chemicals, and things like that. Let's go into our darkest dark, and it's really going to be kind of in this tree back here. I'm looking to kind of create the form that I see, and even though this tree is farther away from us a little bit, it's definitely got a lot more darkness to it than a lot of these other ones that are closer. There are some really strong darks in here and here. And then also in this tree nearby, kind of around the top of the van. And we're kind of just starting with like the bigger shapes. And we can, keeping it relatively thin, but I'm not thinning it down. Painting over my edges. And then we'll basically be adding paint on top of that. So anywhere else that happens, it's really dark, you know, over this car. And okay, if these are kind of thin shadows is kind of the standard. And you know, as it recedes back, there's really a lot of darkness back in here. So kind of brush that in. You can paint over that. Great. I think just a little bit more of that dark right here. We have a lot of darks in the cars as well. And some dark shadows under the car. Might switch to a smaller brush. This is a number 3 bristle filbert. And I'm going to take some black that I've mixed. This is a mixture of ultramarine and burnt umber.
Trying to match the you. Oh, you know.
And just kind of, this is our mixture of black. Just to get, you want to get some of the tones of like your darkest darks so that you have a sense for that. And so I'm dropping in the tires. I'll drop in these tires for this vehicle. And You know, one thing, like we talked about in the previous video, you know, there's so many different modes of working. You know, you can work from small to big, or from general to specific, from big to small. And there's no like one way that is like the way that you must do, you know. You can use whatever method works for the painting, works for the moment that you're building. You know, not even just say like you're going to do one specific aspect of the painting with the same painting technique, but you know, switching from big brushes to small brushes, from bristle brushes to synthetic brushes, from your darks to your lights. You know, and at this point, we kind of have basically our lightest lights minus the pure white that we might put for some highlights on the car. But our sky is generally our brightest bright, and we have our darkest dark. So this is kind of arranging the gamut of our colors. I'm going to come in with the shadow side of the brick here, which is this color here. And I think while I'm doing this, I'm going to bust out my maul stick. I have a collapsible maul stick. You can make your own, but it's a metal stick like this, made by Excel, and the pieces screw together. And what I can do is use this to create a stick that I can use to keep my hand off of the surface of the painting, so that the paint doesn't get smudged and I don't get paint on my hands, even though that's why I'm wearing gloves. This is dried paint from a previous session. I can set this up like this, and then it allows me to not get paint on my hands, not put my hand on the painting. And we're going to have that shadow color also in here. 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 Right here. Kind of generally push that in. Like that. As we keep adding shadows and things like that, the image will sort of start to emerge for us. I'm going to clean the brush because I had some reds in there, and I want to move back to kind of the next darkest green that we have. And so you want to be mindful that, you know, reds are complementary colors to greens, and so those will desaturate. Those will desaturate your greens quite a bit. Let's dip into here, and we're going to kind of start defining some of this foreground tree. Maybe I'll use a smaller brush here. I like to use bristle brushes at the beginning of a painting because they just have a little bit more force to lay down paint, and then you can go over the top of those a little bit easier, more easily with synthetic brushes.
I usually just call pineapple berries.
Oh, okay.
kind of do some strokes this way to bring, you know, the tree here, but I want to leave room for the tree that's in the background to show as well. So we're not just covering up everything that we've already laid down, but we are adding more paint here. And we can refine these details a little bit more in a little bit. And likewise, maybe like somewhere down in here, the sidewalks, in shadow mostly. And I'm okay with that kind of all fading out, because one of the beautiful things about painting that differs from other visual media is that in a way we can control what the viewers look at. Now let's see, I'm going to put a little bit of this dark for this bush here, and then over the top of that we're going to add some of our next steps. And maybe just put in a little bit of this green in here. Kind of grouping some of those shapes together. So let's look at some of the next value that we mixed, which is up here. And it almost doesn't show up. It's almost like a little bit too similar. So let me just kind of lighten that up a little bit. And this is why, you know, again, we talked about it in the last video, but we can always correct things. You know, start with something. You know, I never want people to be kind of crippled by the prospect of making art. Because, you know, you start with something, it's not perfect, but you can adjust. That's why we have some of these colors here to, you know, give us another tonal value. But that color we mixed, I thought that it was right, but it's just a little bit too similar to this color, so we'll lighten it a little bit. And I'm gonna do kind of the same thing here. Just be very loose and abstract with that. And now we're going to kind of come in and do some of the shadow sides of these inner bows of color. Lighten it up just a tad. You know, and this is kind of the beauty of like mixing some of your colors in situ while you're painting, is that you get a variety. So we're just kind of creating some depth here. Now I'm going to add, I think I'm going to mix a little bit of blue into this, a little bit of white, to get something that's like a similar value but a little bit cooler. Oops, I got a little of that color in there. So I want a similar value to this, but something that's cooler, so we can kind of shift the temperature for this tree in here. And I'm going to kind of brush in some of this color. we'll come in here for some of the darks. And just scrubbing that in. We'll come in over the top later, add more medium, make the paint more fluid. But by doing this, you know, we've created some separation, that overlap that we initially talked about. This tree is in front of this tree, is in front of that tree. And I like creating depth like that. Okay. And there's a softness to that. We'll kind of go in and define things more specifically later. But while we're on that front, let's now go to some of our highlights. Jump into this color here. I'm squinting down to see the larger patterns. Of the shapes of the leaves. I'm obviously not rendering all of the leaves. So you kind of want to like abstract things out. And think about the source of light. The light's coming from this way. Afternoon light. And I want to mix a bluer version of that. So I put some white and some blue in that to try and get something that's a similar value. But see how this is kind of milkier and chalkier? I want that for this tree in the background here. To push it back, in part because of atmospheric perspective. And even just looking at it, it looks bluer. Cooler. Can fix that. I'm going to take some of that color that we put there and I'm going to put it in the background. But I want that like coolness to it to make it seem like, you know, light is raking across. But I want to keep it in the distance. Nice. Looking pretty good, pretty solid. Need to take some more of this highlight color and put it here on the tops of this. Let's really warm that up and go for something a little bit lighter, a little bit of white. Just kind of drag that across here. Let's go back to this color here. There's a shadow that the light pole is casting. Maybe mix some intermediary step for just the ground in here. Actually, I see I made a mistake. This is a staircase right in here. That's okay, we can fix that. Good, I'm liking that. I'm starting to see some color pop through. I kind of want to get a sense of the road and maybe the shadows here. Let's put in the light side of the road. I could use my bigger brush for this. Need to rinse that out. You want to be, cognizant of the pigment that's in your brushes. And we went to all the work of, mixing these colors. So you want to have relatively clean brush so that, you get the benefit of those colors. I don't know how many times I've very frustratingly been kind of lazy with my color, and then it ends up getting polluted. And it's not like you can't fix that, but it sure can be difficult sometimes. Now I want to think about the perspective, even with these brush strokes. I'm kind of trying to follow the path of the linear perspective of the road going this way. And put kind of a little suggestion on the sidewalk there. This is sort of a driveway. Okay, so now we have the darker shadow color. I'm using this rag to wipe off my brush, and then we'll go here for our shadow color and brush it in. And a little bit of that drawing color is going to show underneath. I'm going to keep everything just kind of thin, and then I'll come back over it with thicker paint. You don't have to go thick right away. Some of this dappled light over here. soften those edges just a little bit. Nice. Now actually, I think I want to mix up a different color for the shadow underneath the cars, because that is a little bit darker than what we have for the shadows cast by the trees, and that's a color that I didn't mix. That's okay. I'll show you how we can mix a color that's going to be fairly consistent by taking some of this color, put it over here. This is a generic gray that I have. This is black. Let's mix that down a little bit. And maybe just use a little bit more the black that we mixed. We put a little bit more blue into that. And I think that this is pretty good. So we kind of used some of the colors we already have to create these shadows. Just a little bit more. I'm okay with kind of smudging the tires and things like that. I'll repaint those. Actually, the van kind of casts a shadow up on the grass. There you go. Nice. There's some shadow over here because the tree that's casting the shadow is also doing it on the grass, so. Nice. Really nice. I'm gonna use some of this black we mixed. And mix it with some of this here. I'm gonna mix up a little bit of a reddish, brownish, so a little bit of alizarin, a little bit of this premixed black, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of burnt umber, some white. And you know, if you mix all of your colors, you'll get a gray or a brown. Start dropping in some of this color for the trees. That's good. Let's fill in the light pole here. This color here. And I'm going to use the maul stick to steady my hand. There's a shadow side and a light side, so I don't have to cover the whole drawing, but I do want to be sort of careful here because I'm painting across shapes now. Oh, I'm painting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Painting the candle?
Yeah, just the whole, the street scene, but yeah, that Westphalia is cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's her name? I can't remember her name. She works up at Pitt's Pizza.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I feel like it's almost like a Dundee icon, to be honest. I walk my dog past here, and I'm always like, man, that's such a cool car.
When I
And
moved in here, there was a house down the street. They moved to Portland years ago, but they had a really cool old school one too.
nice.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
traveled in it all.
It's kind of the dream, isn't it? I'm like, oh, I need to get one of those. So yeah, am I okay painting
no,
here? I
you're
didn't.
fine. I was just wondering. My buddy's like, yeah, there's somebody out there painting. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
Have a good
awesome. You too. There you go. And we could put in the highlight side, but again, I look at kind of seeing a similar issue where we mixed a highlight for it that's kind of similar in color. So I'm going to add a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. Remember that there's basically two ways to raise value. One's with white, one's with yellow. But yellow will desaturate and kind of cool it down. Let me switch to a smaller brush. This is not a bristle brush, but I will make this work. This is a synthetic brush, so it's a lot softer. Usually I use that for, I want to put a little bit more color in here, make it a little bit orangier. I start with bristle brushes. Yeah, maybe we could just use this color, help me, or look at colors that I've already mixed to get me closer. We can put this in. So this will struggle a little bit to drop the paint on, but it's okay. You can kind of just blend it in. And just thinking about, that this is a three-dimensional form, so there's, a light side and a shadow side. Can maybe even cool down this color here. And add more of that shadow.
Looks awesome, man.
Oh, thank you. Let's put in some of this roof color. Which we mixed right here. And because we measure that angle of our drawing, we can pretty much trust this really thin, almost a thin line, to be honest, of the roof. And this part here is getting light. And this is I'm gonna come in with that small brush again. Preserve the drawing. It's just a beautiful day. Even if your painting doesn't turn out the way you want it to, just to spend time outside is worth it. It's really healing and restorative. Great. Let's put in this color, which I believe was sort of for the light side. Actually, I'm not sure what was for the light side now. The brick. Maybe it wasn't that color. Let me color check this here. That's a little bit closer, I think. I believe that maybe this color here is for the shadow under the roof, so let's go ahead and drop that in. I'm using this smaller brush. It's going to help me get into those nooks and crannies. You could, one of the classic ways people paint, and I've said it myself many times, is use the biggest brush you have. But one of the things I've been finding is that I want to protect and preserve my drawing. A lot of times I lose my drawing, and I feel like it can oftentimes make my paintings look a little bit more amateurish. So I want to just kind of maintain that. And those colors are echoed down here. Here as well. Very similar color, and I believe that this peachy color was for this retaining wall. So we can drop that in. And I'll probably come in and add more details into that in a little bit. But that's pretty good. This is a part of the painting where I am starting to notice some of the errors and the mistakes. Here I'm switching to a smaller synthetic filbert just to help me reach into some of these spots and put in some more shadows while I try to figure out what I want to do and just grouping some of these shadows. And you want to work with some alacrity just to get this down. We can always touch it up in the studio. Just a little ridge here. That's not what I wanted. It's okay. I'll fix that. Okay. Okay, so let's start working on the car. One of the things that I think I need to do is mix up some intermediate grays. I have like this color here that's basically pure black, and then something that's like in between it, and then white, obviously. I think we need something in between. That will work. Just to give us some varieties of gray. So let's come in with some more blacks. And like in this grill here, do have some pure blacks. Try to keep it something that we can brush into. Guys here, and kind of a black along this ridge, the windshield. Gonna have to use the small brush more, just because of the size of this thing. Let me use some of the intermediate gray now and brush around this. I use that intermediate gray for the bumper, which comes out here. And then maybe something in between for like the tire, front of the tire. something in between those two, also for these parts that are inside the car. I need to, like, there's so much detail in those windows. I need to just simplify, compress it down into like single shapes. I'm going to try kind of the opposite approach and use some of this intermediate gray for this part back here. And then I can maybe brush in some of the blacks. Likewise, we have that up here, but I'm seeing, like, instead of these posts, I actually need to bring this color down more. So let me grab some of that. That's this dark blackish green. Bring it down.
Can I painting bomb you?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just stand there forever.
I'll paint you in. Have you seen Titanic? Okay, only good.
So why do you record yourself?
Oh, I put them on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I might have a business card. Let me see. I kind of do like art instructions. I might have left all my cards at home. But, yeah, I don't think... Wait, this one? Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, if you like scan that QR code,
All right.
you'll see this up soon.
Cool. Yeah.
So, nice. Yep. One thing I'm noticing is that the car back here is gone. So I can either paint this from a photo or I can take it out, and I think I'm going to do that. Let's use some burnt umber and kind of paint the underside of the car. I guess it's already kind of burnt umber. Something that's a browner version of that black. For just kind of, and it's getting some reflection off the road, but put this in here. Put in the dark for this windshield. And it'll probably be a little bit more generic on this car, because I don't really care about it that much. As much as it's just kind of like getting in the approximations. Let's see, let's get in kind of this here, this here. Now I'm gonna need to put in the stuff that we're seeing through the car windows, but let me think about how I want to do that, and let's actually put in kind of the bigger shapes. So I'll switch back to this filbert, because I think that it'll probably be about the appropriate size. Let's do the shadow side. I see some more of that shadow color underneath this grill right here.
I just checked, it wasn't up yet.
Oh yeah, I'll get it up.
How long will it take you to do a painting like that?
Oh, like considering all the steps, like the drawing, because I was here yesterday, so maybe 3-4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, have a good one. A little bit showing out here. So now let's put in the light side. And that brush, I'm just struggling with it. So let me get the small brush back out. And this is maybe an argument for why you should paint larger, because the larger you paint, the kind of more leeway you have with detail. The smaller you paint, the more you need to use small brushes. Now I see here I messed up this side of the bumper. There we go. Helps a little bit. use that same gray. The bumper back here. I'm going to use that gray also for the tires. There's a mirror. We'll go into pretty much black. And then the shadow of that is like a super cool color. Let's try this. Maybe this color here. By reusing colors, you can kind of delineate some color harmony. Carving out some of the lines in the car. We'll put in the shadow side of the top now. And the light side, which this is where we added warmth to that color. I'm going to use some of this color for the hubcaps. And also for, I'm going to use a little bit of this gray, but lighten it for the lights. So I'm going to use my brush, get it to a tip. Okay, so I need kind of a darker gray, hazier gray of this green. And I'm going to dip into some of my medium. To put in some of the plants and things that we're seeing through through these windows so that hopefully it'll kind of read as like this plant life just through the windows. Same thing for some of the highlights. Just a grayer version. Okay, and then likewise, it's kind of a grayer version of this brown. So just adding in maybe some black and some white, some gray to desaturate and kind of lighten it. I'll lighten it a little bit more. Mixing up a color for kind of the dash. And then there's kind of some kind of a cool white thing that's going to be hanging from the inside. Oops. It's okay. You can fix that. What color did I use for that? I think it was this one. Maybe not. It is now. That's what I'm sticking with now. And that's quite thick. Let me go over that again. And there's some windshield wipers. Kind of free mixing now. I see that I need to mix an orange for some headlights, so I'm going to free mix that. Some alizarin crimson and some cadmium light. And there's a dark in there, so I'll just quick mix up a darker version of that. We'll drop in the dark right here. And then we'll put in with a little bit of our medium so that it'll go on easier, a little bit of this orange. And there's a corresponding one over here. And there's another little reflector right back here. I'm going to come in with kind of this medium gray. I don't want too much paint on the brush, just enough to put in these posts. Pretty decent. Put out little parts where they attach. I'm noticing that the color inside the dash, because of the grass, or because of the glass rather, is kind of greenish. So I'm using some of that greenish gray. Put that in there. Similar grays for headlights around that brush. Put in a tree here that was obscured. There's a little bit of street light that's poking out here. Reinforce some of that. Clean up some of those lines. Okay, now I have the building and the sign to do, mostly the windows and the sign, so we're getting close. It's important to step back, take a look at what we've got. I think it's a decent. Let me put in, with kind of a dark gray, something for the text, but I'm not going to actually write it out, so I'm just going to something like that, which is nice. I'm going to put in, I think, some highlights on these posts. I actually get like some highlights underneath. Put in this color here for this no parking sign. And it's kind of a rusty black. Use some of this black and brown, a little bit of red. That was a disaster. It's okay. I can cover it up, cut into it. Okay. This is why we pre-mix our colors. We know we can get the exact same color. And this is the shadow color.
I'm just taking
Hi.
a look. My husband
Oh,
said
yeah.
it was really good.
Oh, thanks. I'm still working on it, so
That's really
like
cool.
getting close. It's fun. I've seen this Westphalia when I walk my dog, and I thought it just had such a classic look, and I like there's like the strong shadows with the trees and everything, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, well, cool. Well,
Nice.
thanks. Let me take a peek.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's figure out the light side. I think the light side of the building is this color here. That seems about right. Let's drop that in. It's definitely in here. The building, I have to remember, is not very important to me in this scene. What's important is that car mostly. Perspective, the depth. Let's see. And okay. Let's get in this archway. I'm gonna just kind of think tonally. It's here. The shadow side. Doorway. And then there's a much lighter color, something in between these two. Kind of a darker gray, warmer gray. And we'll use this here for inside. The door is the same color as the roof. Use black for those windows. Kind of these planters we talked about. I want to part in the no parking sign. Get some black. Actually, you know what I'm going to do first for this no parking sign is I'm going to mix up a red. Use alizarin, some burnt umber, a little bit of my medium. Let's see what we can do. So we've got the circle. Slash some text. This line that goes around it. Now let's go into the black. Also use some medium. Really try to get my brush to a point. Okay. Every stroke I'm going to dip back in. There we go. I use some of that black to highlight the dark side of the post. This is where using like softer brush can really be useful to you. I'm avoiding these windows, but they're kind of a generic gray. Let's just plop in some stuff for them. There's a lighter side to those, a lighter gray. I'll use this one where the light is hitting, the sun is hitting. Okay, I'm gonna step back, take a look. I see I've forgotten to put in the chimney. Let me put that in. It's gonna be the lighter color of this. Maybe a little bit lighter than that. Put a cream colored thing on the top. Then a much lighter version of that up here. I want to reinforce, sharpen the line of the rooftop. So I use a little bit of medium so my paint's a little bit more wet and just make this line a little bit more crisper. I want to go in, add some darks underneath the edge of the roof, so I'm mixing into my black. And now we're basically in the detail stage here. That's too dark. Lighten it up just a little bit. Make it kind of a squiggle. Oops. Can fix that. We'll kind of mimic that. So I'm going to use a lighter gray. We'll mimic that along in here and here. And in fact, remember when we were talking about this wall here? I'm gonna just kind of suggest some rocks. With painting into that. Okay, let me put in some darks in these hubcaps. Some pure white for the highlights. Let me clean the brush. This to be fairly thick. I'm looking for some pure white. Put some here.
I'm about ready for a beer break.
Here's all wiped off for you.
I don't know if you can be wiped off.
I know.
Let's get in something that's just a little bit less than white. For these lights. I need to darken this edge here. Now we're just kind of take care of edges. Put in these stairs. Put in some highlights on the trees. Use kind of this lighter gray. Maybe a little bit of medium in that. Put in some branches. Mix in some burnt umber to the black. Add a little bit more detail into this tree. Okay. And then let's put in some sky holes in the tree. I'm gonna clean my brush. And we're just about there, I think, for now. Okay. Clean up this line. Let's get some sky holes.
Yeah, what did he say?
Add some more depth to this tree, a little bit more detail. I'm gonna darken some of these trees in the background. I'm just kind of looking at things that are bothering me. And it's probably about time to be done. I'm gonna step back and look at it. I think it's good for now. Add just a little bit more shadow to the edge here. Oops, that's too dark, maybe. Okay. Soften this edge.